Okay, I'm here with KSH2 today, and he's a little bit more serious about Dominion. So what we're going to do is we're going to give like fresh one-sentence takes of each card in Menagerie, along with a rating. Okay, and I'm going to start with my rating of each card, and I'm going to use the tier system that I've been using in Getting Swashed. Rest in peace, Getting Swashed, probably due to coronavirus. Okay, let me get started. Okay, Black Cat. I'm seeing this as a C tier card. I think it's a card like you'll often get toward the end of the game, and it can be used as a draw card if you've got enough trash in. But I don't think it's particularly powerful. Yeah, decent cursor, but it can be played around easy. Slay. I'm also seeing this as a C tier card. The effect, it's okay, but it's a terminal, so you don't really want to like make that work on most kingdoms. The reaction is pretty cool though, allowing you to top deck stuff. I think it's going to be decently strong reaction, but it does like make you lose a card from your hand, and so that's not so great. Supplies, I'm going to say this is probably, it's tough, but I'm going to say it's a B tier card. Decent, like considering that it gives you a horse, I think it's a 1 coin for a 2 cost is not bad economy, if that makes sense. But yeah, just a way to continuously gain horses with, at no real cost to you. It's pretty cool. Camel Train, I think, is probably a C tier card as well. You can use it to like get in there on splits, but you do have to build up your deck apart from Camel Train in order to actually get the cards into your deck. So it's a little bit tricky. I think probably people are sleeping on it a little, and they'll discover ways to play with it better as time goes on. Goat Herd, I'm going to say it's probably A tier, and yeah, this is maybe a hot take because people are kind of down on this card, but I just think trashing plus drawing is such a good combo that even with like an iffy trigger situation, it's got to be really strong, and we're just not there yet. And 3 costs, non-terminal trasher, that's not bad. So I'm just going to predict it. It's actually an A tier card. Scrap, I'm going to say is C tier. Terminal trasher, some of the effects are nice, but I'm not being wowed by it in the games that I'm playing with it. So yeah, maybe I'm wrong. And perhaps I'm a little salty because in playtesting, like this is basically a redo of an old card where you got to pick as many of those effects as you wanted for the cost. Anyway, but I think like gaining silver, gaining horse, gaining card or something early on, it's pretty nice. And you can keep using it throughout the game. Anyway, I better move on. Sheepdog, I'm going to say it's a B tier card. It's really good draw, especially if your opponent is giving you stuff on their turn, but also with any kind of like mid-turn gaining. And it can always just be used as the +2 cards as well. So I think, it's going to be solidly strong, but not overpowered necessarily. Army of Sheepdogs Unite. Snowy Village, I'm going to say is A tier. A really good village. If you just have a couple of actions, or if you can manage to play it toward the end of your turn. Obviously, you do not want to play it early on. The plus buy is a really good effect to get non-terminally. Of course, you got to be it's a little tricky how to play with it. I think it is going to be pretty good. Stockpile, I'm also going to say A tier. Really nice kickoff card early in the game. And I don't think it's actually that good for stockpiling for the end, despite what the name of the card is. But I don't know, it could be useful like to get them back and have them as payload later on. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I think it's so good like at the start of the game that it's got to be A tier. Bounty Hunter, I think, is an S tier card. I think this is like really, really strong. Obviously, like the fact that you get so much economy while trashing, maybe 3 is not that much, but you can also continually use it late in the game. To get rid of your provinces as well, and duchies, other things like that you just don't need anymore. Maybe S tier is overdoing it, but I think it's going to be really strong. You can also gain cards back and then exile them again with the Bounty Hunter. Cardinal, I think, is a C tier card. Maybe B, but I'm leaning more C. I think its effect can be really powerful, but it's going to need like a great board for it to happen. I've had a few happen. You can lock people out of their cards with it pretty strong, but I don't think it's going to be like especially overpowered. Yeah, and, 2 coin, not too bad, but probably not what you want to be spending your terminal on, unless like you can really lock someone out of stuff. Cavalry, I think it's got to be A tier, and the reason is it lets you return to your action phase, and we know how good that is with Villa. Like the actual effect of the card, not all that great, but I mean I just can't believe there won't be crazy things you can pull off with this effect, just based on our experience with Villa so far. So it's got to be good, A tier. Groom, I'm not completely sure what to think of this one. I'm guessing it's a B tier card. So obviously it's a workshop, and that's pretty nice. You get the horse with an action. That's really good. The treasure with the silver, it's okay. And the victory card, it's not bad for like a rush deck of some kind, or generally late in the game, getting a cantrip for gaining a victory is pretty good. Yeah, I think it's pretty solid all around. But because it's not always non-terminal, I don't think it's like an elite workshop variant. Okay, hostelry. I think hostelry is pretty dang good. Pretty dang good, but I'm thinking more A tier just because it's a village, pretty much. And like the effect, like you'll gain what's that card? Blessed Village, just for that single boon. Okay, well obviously you gain it because it's a village, but you're happy with the boon. And I think with hostelry, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, you'll take a few horses with a village, sure. It's temporary benefit, but you're still getting a village at the end of the day. It's really strong. Okay, Village Green. It's between A and S. I'm thinking it's more of an A tier card. Like, it's a good village, obviously. It's got like the reaction effect. I'm not entirely sure how to evaluate it, but I think it's going to be much better than, say, Tunnel, which is nice. Yeah, like I'm not seeing it as quite S tier, but obviously it's very good village coverage, and you can pick the turn you do it on, which is really cool. You can trigger it at weird times, and yeah, I think it's all around great, just not like super overpowered. Barge, I'm thinking also A tier. Really strong draw card, not brokenly so. It's comparable to Wharf, I think, but I kind of like Wharf's consistent draw on 2 turns more than I like picking it for one or the other. Still, I think it's especially good as duration draw, and you're not going to be unhappy with it. Coven, I think it's a B tier card. Obviously, it's a cursor, and cursors can only be so bad. I don't think it's like Soothsayer bad necessarily. The fact that it's non-terminal is really good. But I think like it's going to be a lot of people trying to pull off dream turns and not quite getting them. But occasionally you might get that dream. Displace. I think this is, oh goodness. I'm thinking it might be S tier, but I'm going to say A and be conservative about it. Obviously, the dream is province. Like exiling a province for a gold, or I don't know, duchy for a gold or something like that. But there's probably a lot of other tricks you can do with it, and I've had some good plays with it, just doing play testing and all that stuff. I think it's really strong, not quite S tier, but up there. Falconer, not as high on this as some people. I think it's probably B tier. It's another workshop variant, but it gains to hand, and that's really solid. The more interesting thing is the reaction. You can trigger it on your turn, but probably the more interesting thing is when it happens on the opponent's turn. And it's just such a complicated gizmo. I haven't quite had enough experience with it to say otherwise. But I'm gonna say it's probably B tier, decently strong. Gatekeeper. I have no idea how to evaluate this, honestly. I've been hurt by it a few times, but I don't think it's like especially strong. On the other hand, plus 3 coins, pretty nice to have at the start of your next turn. I'm gonna say it's a B tier card. Yeah, coins. Yeah, KSH has joined the fray. I think it's like a B tier attack. It's decent, like not amazing, but the economy is a good effect to have. Hunting Lodge, I think, is S tier. Self minion, draw to X kind of card, and it's a village. Can't really go wrong with that. I think probably one of the best cards in the set. And if you don't think so, probably sleeping on it. Kiln, I'd say also B tier. It's solid. You got to do like some kind of complicated engine maneuver usually to get great gains out of it, but it can happen. It's not that overly complicated. It's more complicated than, say, Haggler. Can also be used to gain golds and such, but I don't think that's the best use of it. I think the best use is going to be gaining actions. But because of like the finickiness of it, I can't give it too high of a rating. It also only gains 1. All right, Livery is an obvious S tier card if you've played enough games with it. I think just gaining horses for gaining a bunch of cards is really, really good. I think it was going to take some time to fully evaluate just how strong this thing is, but the answer is going to be that it's very strong, deserving of the S tier. Mastermind, I'm going to say probably A tier, despite like its kind of amazing on 3 play effect. It can really dud hard, and if this card duds, you've wasted 2 turns, plus it's a duration. And when I say 2 turns, I mean 1 play of it, and then like the kickoff on the next turn not happening. That's pretty bad. But in addition to that, it could miss shuffles because it's a duration. So yeah, I think like that weakness is a lot worse than say the weakness of Throne Room or King's Court. But still, it only costs 5, and that's really strong. And I'm willing to admit my wrongness later when this ends up being an S tier. Paddock, I think this is a strong card. I'm gonna say probably B or A tier. I'm gonna say A tier. Yeah, like getting money and gaining the 2 horses I think is a lot better than just gaining the 2 horses. And I think like if there are empty supply piles, this is a very, very nice effect indeed. Yeah, but I don't think super amazing, but I think it's going to be like pretty solid staple whenever you're able to get it non-terminally, and pretty good when it's terminal. Sanctuary I think is A tier. It's a pretty strong pseudo-trasher, obviously. And it can be used late game, unlike some trashers. Hang on, just let my dog out here. But plus buy is a nice little passive benefit to get with it. Fisherman, I think A tier. It's a peddler, and it's potentially a really cheap one. Pretty good in the opening, like if you get 3-4 and the opponent gets 5-2 or something, or 4-3, you know, nice. I don't know, I found it to be pretty effective overall. It's also got a cool combo with Traveling Fair. If you top deck, you can keep getting cheap fishermen. Yeah, so I think it's decently strong. I could see B tier, but I think I'll say A for now. Destrier, I think it's A tier. It's a lab. You can get it for cheap, potentially. Won't always be able to get it for cheap, but it's really strong once you load up on them. And yeah, I don't know, just pretty nice all around. Vanilla. Wayfarer, I think, is S tier. I think this is one of the best cards in Dominion. It's a smithy. You can get silver with it, so you can play some kind of money thing. More importantly, it lets you gain economy without having to buy it, while also having this really useful draw card. And then the other thing, of course, is that you can get Wayfarer for cheap. It costs as much as the last turn gained, and you know that can make it really, really cheap to get. So you get this like awesome effect at a low cost. I think this card is nuts. And there's probably other tricks I'm not even getting at. Animal Fair, I'm going to say it's like B tier. Pretty good payload. Nice if you can get it early in some games. Like it's going to be pretty good in like games where you're just not doing a whole lot on your turns due to no trashing or whatever. Late game, when you can get the plus buys, it's really, really good, but I think that's just not always going to come into play. Anyway, I think it's solid, but not an amazing card. Delay. You know what? I'm going to have to delay this. I'm going to make this just the Kingdom cards for now. And I will get to events and ways another time. KSH2 says, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this video. I really, really love Menagerie. I'm terrible at it currently, but the cards are really fun and interesting, and I hope you guys are all enjoying it too. So I will be back with more hot takes later.